Thank you for tuning in to Full Disclosure, created intentionally for aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners who are hungry to learn from the best. This is not an aspirational interview podcast. We're going to do things a bit differently. Each Full Disclosure episode is a mini masterclass led by an expert going deep into one topic to do with growing your business. The part that I'm most excited to share with you all is every episode, one lucky listener wins a free consultation call with our experts. If you want to learn more how you can apply for that, it's in the show notes of the episode. I am Alina Khan, your host and fellow entrepreneur, and I'm here to make this journey of growing your business honestly less overwhelming and less lonely. So with that said, get your notepads out because you're going to want to save a lot of tips from this episode. Today's episode is all about how to hire top talent. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest. Not only is he a friend and not only did we go to college together, but Sammy Sawaf is the CEO of Novomed Group. So that's the centers that you've seen all around Dubai, but it's also a family office. They invest in health tech, and he's going to tell us so much more. And the reason why Sammy has even more pressure to hire top talent is when you're dealing with people's bodies and people's mental health, that's something that you don't take casually. So he has to make sure that they have a method to get the best specialists, the best experts. And his method is super interesting. So without further ado, Sammy, welcome to Full Disclosure.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We're going to get into everything. So before we do, my rule with my podcast is if the episode doesn't provide true value, it literally doesn't air. No pressure. Sammy, do you commit to full disclosure today, oversharing all your strategy tips, not holding back for my community of business owners that are listening?
Sure, as much as I can. I'm just going to give it all away. If it gets me in a little bit of trouble, then that's what we're dealing with.
And I'll make sure you don't get canceled, so we'll check on it.
You.
Perfect.
Right, we got it.
Okay, so let's get started. So you have this method that you use for hiring top talent. I actually got to come and see you do one of these interviews. I'm not going to share too much, but I've seen it for myself for the listeners, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And it's super unique. I want to hear all about it. First, what is the method and how did you find out about it?
So prior to me ever entering the workplace and kind of figuring out how I want to hire people, I always wanted to hire people based off their personalities. It was always something that I felt that was natural to me. Even when I looked up to my business role models, like Warren Buffett, he'd always say, you hire people for intelligence, integrity, and energy. And if people don't have integrity, then the other two will kill you. And that's the famous quote that he lives by. And I always resonated with that. And so I started trying to figure out ways we could sense people's behavioral cues, really kind of figure out, because I went through the same thing when I was in college, where my CV just made me look like the best guy ever. And I would walk into any interview. It didn't matter whether it was an elevator company or whether it was an investment bank. I just wanted the job. And I would kind of BS my way through the interview just to get the job. So I knew that if I was going to do whatever it takes to get a job, why wouldn't others do the same thing? So it was completely natural. It's human behavior, but we got to identify people that really fit in because of real natural reasons, rather than people just forcing themselves into the company, and then eventually it's not sustainable. So it is important to note that this interview style is very much for the non-technical roles, right? Okay. I mean, you still need the degrees, the experience, all that. So that's really important. I mean, I'm not going to hire the funniest cardiologist, right? That's a different story. And that's hired by a team of MDs. That's not really my area of expertise. What I specialize in, hiring the back end office. So people that, we call them the silent heroes or whatever, people who the patients and the customers don't really see. And that's people that work in procurement, billing, insurance, finance, marketing, whatever. Kind of the departments that you have basically in every industry, and so those roles are heavily dependent on kind of teamwork and culture fit and doing things together as a team. Whereas a lot of the technical roles, like you see as doctors or MDs or what have you, those are a lot more individualistic. They're a lot more technical. So that requires a different skill set. Right. So for those who are going to trying this at home, obviously, be mindful that this is a lot of the softer skill category of hires.
Yeah. No, that's really important to set the record on.
Yeah, for sure.
But, okay, so what is?
So I'll get into it. Yeah. So it actually it's called a group interview. And it started back in the 1920s, 1930s. I looked into it a little bit. It's the Germans used to use it, and then the British started using it, and they would basically try to identify soldiers with leadership characteristics and qualities. So they would do all these kind of team building exercises,
Mhm.
like, hey, build a bridge or whatever it is. And then they would try to notice certain cues, certain details, certain aspects of personality, subconscious traits that really kind of stood people out. And what I always try to do is we try to stray away from. Obviously, everybody wants to stray away from hiring mediocrity, right? You want to
Yeah.
hire superstars, you want to hire leaders, you want to hire the best. That's the difference between a great company and a not so great company. It's nothing other than the people behind it. We know this, right? So what I do is the following. Here's the setup, here's the lowdown. um, we invite candidates over to a job. And by the way, it doesn't need to be a certain job posting. So, for example, we'd be hiring for a marketing specialist, as well as a call center agent, as well as, a receptionist. So it doesn't
Oh.
all have to be
So
the
they're not
same
all
job.
coming for the same
Not
title?
necessarily, because
Interesting.
again, you're not really assessing them based off their technical IQ. You're
Yeah.
looking at them from an emotional intelligence perspective.
Wow.
So we could put several job postings, and this makes the process so much faster. Like the hiring process is like that. Within a week, we fill like 3, 4 roles of super high caliber people through this way. So, anyways, we bring the people in. They don't know what they're coming into. They don't know this is a group interview. Again, you want to break down as much as the facade, as much as the kind of as the ego as possible. It's so much harder for a person to kind of keep up this ego or personality when it's one on one. So
Yeah.
if I'm sitting with you one on one, I can kind of start getting a sense of, are you nodding along? Are you
Mhm.
not? Are you agreeing with me? You're kind of, your body language
Yeah.
can tell a person whether what kind how the conversation is going.
Yeah.
So I could, not just me but anybody could manipulate that
Mhm.
to achieve a certain outcome a lot easier than doing that in front of a group of people, where it's a lot harder to see and monitor so many people at once. So people tend to be more genuine in those situations.
So true, because things like mirroring that I've learned, like you
Right.
can literally build a bond or trust with someone just by copying. Like if you're sitting like this, I can put
Yeah.
my hands like this, and you don't
Yeah.
realize it, you trust me more because I'm doing
Exactly.
that. But you
Exactly.
can't get away with
But you
that
can't marry
same.
6 people at the same
Exactly.
time. So anyway, so we bring the candidates in. They don't know that this is a group interview. They all think they're coming in for their one-on-one conventional stuff.
And is this round one?
This is round
Okay.
one. So there is like a preliminary interview, obviously, and that's a phone call just to kind of screen people, find out that there needs to be some technical
Yeah.
expertise, right? There needs to be at least whatever it is your company's got. We for example, for us, we want at least 3 years experience in a relevant field, for
Yeah.
example. So we'll do that kind of like preliminary phone call, and then we'll bring them over for the group interview. And it's important to do it in 3 stages, and it's important not to rush the process. If you ask for something, for example, you're selling a house and you say my selling price is 7, right? Psychologically, you know that you would sell it for a 6.8 or 6.5, whatever you're willing to negotiate. But if the next day you get an offer for 7, you're like, did I sell this for too low? Maybe I
Hmm.
should have upped my price. So if you
Totally.
give something away too easily, you get insecure about that. And the same thing about the taker as well. If they take something too easily, they're like, this isn't, they didn't feel, it's kind of like working out. If you don't get a good sweat in,
Yeah.
if you don't really exercise, you don't feel that great after it. So with the process of hiring, you want to make people feel like they've climbed a mountain in order to
Mm.
achieve this role that that they've acquired, right? That they've really accomplished. So we do the calls, but then we wait at least a week to book them in for a group interview. You don't want to respond right away. You give it a little breathing room. People start questioning themselves. So you got to play a little bit on the psychology. You don't want to give yourself away or your
Yeah.
company away too easily. You want to play a little bit on the exclusivity. And by the way, all the big companies do this, right? I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that they obviously play this facade,
Yeah.
but if you're a company that's just starting out, you gotta maybe mirror those patterns that the big companies are doing in order to have that heightened sense of exclusivity for your
Hmm.
own company. So anyways, we do the call, we wait a week later we bring them in for what we call the group interview. They don't know
Yeah.
this again, so they come in. Mind you, we have the receptionist sitting in front, timing every single person comes in. So if they're supposed to be there at 10 a.m.,
Mm.
we see, all right, so who arrived at 9:58, who arrived at 9:55, who arrived at 9:53, who made that extra conscious effort to arrive early and took traffic, and so punctuality is a trait that we're looking for. In certain roles, you want people that are very organized, that take
Mm.
other people, time into account. They say punctuality is a sign of royalty. So whatever. So they don't
Yeah.
know that we're noting down when they walk in. Secondly, we then take them into the conference room. The conference room is very silent. The conference room is cold. The conference room is large. It's a little bit of an intimidating setting. Once they
Mm.
go into this cold, quiet room, it kind of brings them back to feeling like they're entering some sort of SAT exam or something like that, you know?
So scary.
And what we don't really kind of disclose, but if they ask, obviously we tell them, is that our entire company has cameras all over the place, right? So we're looking at them, right? And we're looking for certain cues. And so when they walk in, around 10 to 15 people, but the group could be as small as 5, right? But we get around 10 to 15 people, try to make this worth it. We try to let them sit in silence for like 15 minutes or
Interesting.
so. Meanwhile, we're recording the thing. And so we're starting, and we tell them we'll be right back, right? We leave, we start listening in, and then we start noticing how people are interacting with each other off record, right? And
Mm.
so they might interact, somebody might be the kind of group or a class clown or whatever it is. So if somebody's in, so if somebody starts complaining, you always have somebody that kind of like rallies up the
Mhm.
others, and you always have that in a
And
group,
do you
right?
like that quality, by the way, when you think about hiring, or do you avoid that trait?
So funny enough, it depends on the role. So for example, if I'm looking for a recruiter,
Mhm.
I might want somebody with that fire in them, right? I
Yeah.
want somebody to pick up the phone, really cold sell,
Mhm.
hard sell. They might have these like nuances to their character that isn't necessarily that professional, but you might want that in a
Yeah.
person. You want that charisma. You want that oomph to a person, right?
Mhm.
But if you're hiring, for example, let's say maybe a receptionist or somebody that's a little bit more customer facing, that's a bit more patient centric, maybe you want a little bit more softness, more tenderness, more patience, more
Totally.
calmness. So it kind of depends. Most jobs, often than not, in the kind of soft skill level, you kind of want people that are calm because look, life is stressful and things are going to be stressful, and working with people is always going to be, it's always going to be challenging.
Mm. No,
So
and clinics are normally intimidating and
absolutely. And
sterile.
yeah, and you're
Yeah.
working in like high stress environments
Yeah.
where, things could happen, things could go wrong, and
Exactly.
so you want people that, and at least for my organization, you want people that can thrive under chaos. So you want to balance it both. You want them to be confident, but you want their default setting to be calm. Maybe if they breathe, they take a step back before assessing or attacking a
Mm.
situation, that might be a strength that serves us down the line. So anyway, so we're looking at them doing this group interview. I mean, waiting for us to come in, and you'll start noticing people asking each other, talking to each other. Maybe it's the where you from or whatever it is. And then we look for the complainers. We usually don't want
Mm.
a complainer because
Yeah.
kind of like a bad apple.
You don't
People
want
around,
Karen.
yeah, you don't want Karens, you don't want bad apples, you don't want sick patients, you don't want people that can infect others with a toxic energy. I mean, if you have one person in an office that hates their job, come back 6 months later, the whole office is going to hate their job because they're just listening to this guy complaining about how he wants the next
Yeah.
job, how he's underpaid, how is this and that. And that kind of energy is infectious
A
in a group setting,
100%. Yeah.
So we look out for the class clown, and
And the
then
Karen.
and the Karen. And then we walk in, and so we have our kind of our HR kind of coordinator come in first, and she's a person just kind of organizing the logistics of it all,
Mhm.
and she'll give them what, again, they're not prepared for, is a English quiz, right? Like, we'll ask them a question and ask them to write 200 words about it.
Even if the role is like not a copywriting role,
Nothing
even
to
if it's
do,
accounting.
has nothing to do. And I'll tell you why. And so the first one is, and we'll ask, it could be any question, usually like an open-ended question. We like a question I generally look for is, what would you do for a living if money wasn't a factor? And that's something I kind of want to know about people, right? Maybe
Mhm.
tells me a little bit about who they really are, right? Nine times out of 10, people are not going to answer that genuinely, but if they do,
Let's try it
then I'm
anyway.
impressed.
Yeah.
And so we ask them that question, and after they're done with that, we give them, I think, 15 minutes. After that, we give them, and it's writing right away,
Yeah.
by the way. And
Are you seeing people's reactions? Are they kind of like, first of all, when they walk in and see other people there, are they like, what the hell?
so another thing we do is once we give them the quiz, we step out. We tell them you're not allowed to use your phones, but then we step out. And so what we start doing is we notice who's cheating. Some people immediately look at their phone. They start asking ChatGPT,
yeah.
Google it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so again, we're looking for energy, intelligence, but most importantly, integrity. So if people don't have integrity, I don't care how smart they are. I don't care how great they are. The integrity element is by far the most critical principle that I'll never kind of like settle, compromise on.
Yeah.
So we'll look for cheaters. And then we come in 15 minutes later, and that's really where the cheating comes out. And we give them a math quiz. Again, by the way, these people are applying for like receptionist role. It could be for graphic
They're like, I'm
design,
doing social media.
social
Why am I doing
media,
that?
like marketing. It's a lot of marketing roles because in a marketing team, you just have so many different skill sets, right? Like videographer, content writer, SEO, graphic, UX, UI, whatever it is, social media. So you have so many different people in marketing, and that's really where the group interview just shines so much. And you really do want a group, a marketing team that really meshes well with each other and works well with each other.
We're actually looking for someone that understands our numbers a little bit, even if the role, like,
So,
do you care about that score?
I don't really.
Okay.
But, it is a telltale a little bit about, all right, were they studious? Maybe you're looking for studious.
And are they cheating? I think it's the integrity.
The integrity element is by far the most important, but I'll take those, like how well they do on a quiz or, as bonus points, but that's not a core principle of what we're looking for. But again, like you do want to make sure that you're hiring people that can respond well to an email. You know what I mean? So you're going to see that in writing. And a lot of people kind of get nervous. They haven't written down something with pen and paper for a while.
Yeah.
They've been used to typing for a long time, and they've been using a lot of AI assistants to do the typing for them.
True.
So when you ask them to just get pen and paper on, they start getting nervous. And there's certain cues to handwriting. We'll get into that in a little bit. So we do the math test. For the math test, I'm really looking for like the actual like long division mental math that they do in the back.
Such a throwback.
I don't remember the last time I like tried dividing 32.
I would
by,
not
like,
make it past your interview.
You know what I mean? Like going the long division stuff.
The
You know
adding
what
the
I'm
one
saying?
on top of
Yeah, like that stuff. I mean, I did finance. Like I should be ashamed of saying this.
We
like,
went to Marshall, didn't we?
Yeah. Like that stuff to me right now
Yeah.
would be challenging.
Completely.
It would stress me out. But that's the whole point. We're putting them under high pressure situations to break down that ego a little bit. If you're coming in really trying to show a facade, we're just going to take you back to reality by increasing the heightened sense of urgency, of anxiety, of stimulus in this group setting to really kind of bring you down to your core and see who could work well under pressure, right? So after that's done, we take those away. And then a team of people sit in the back. Usually it's like my COO, my CPO, maybe if it's a marketing role, maybe our marketing director. A group of them sit in the back on a couch and they're just sitting down, observing, not saying anything. And then I come in a few minutes later.
And they don't announce anything? Do they just walk in and
they just walk in and sit in the back?
Okay.
Again, like they feel like they're being observed. They have no idea what's going on. So I walk in and immediately I just try to come in high energy to try to maybe make it feel like it's a little fun. I don't want people to get too scared. I want people to just kind of enjoy it as well.
And no one would ever expect the CEO is going to be at the interview. Like, it's already, that's already so different.
Yeah, like, they don't really get what's going on. But maybe at this point they're starting to feel like, hey, you know what? This is interesting.
Yeah.
This is fun. So then you start to. Some people get into it, they like it.
Yeah, and this job means something.
Right.
You're actually even showing that, like, this is not some little role. Like, we're taking it this seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really the whole point. So I tell them, I explain to them, look, this is going to be a 3-step process. And sometimes I feel like I'm running like the Squid Games or something. You know what I mean? Like, so I walk in and it's a 3-step process, right? But before we get into that, I tell them that this is a group interview, and today we're assessing you based off your emotional intelligence and your personalities, and not based off your IQ or your technical skills. And so I tell them there's a paper and a pen in front of everybody. And I got one in front of me too. And I tell them, just grab this paper, and I show them and I fold it in front of them. And I tell them, and write your name on this paper and fold it and put it on the paper, on the table in front of you, so everybody else in the room can see your name. And so people start writing their names, they fold the paper, and then you see them like getting, some people are fidgety, some people are putting it up, some people are hiding the paper away from the rest of the group a little bit subconsciously.
Like shady.
But really what you're looking for is, how did they write their name? Did they write their name in small at the top of the corner of the paper? Or did they write their name like in large, like caps, like, my name is Sarah, like, I'm here, like, and there is no right or wrong answer to these things, right?
Yeah, but
like,
it does tell you something.
It does. Yeah. That's really, we're trying to understand people more so than we are trying to profile, like more so than we are trying to like judge. We're trying to profile, like, okay, do I want a high confident personality, or do I want somebody that can sit down and focus and do just tedious tasks for long periods of time?
And you don't want them to be too insecure either, where they're like, oh my, you want the middle ground, I'm sure.
Like you don't want them too confident as well. You don't want to hire the narcissist either, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah.
Another thing I observed, which is why I'm so happy that I came to one of these interviews. I noticed in that period, aside from writing the name, you're also kind of looking for people that freak out over a tiny task. Because I did notice when I came, 2 girls, just for the folding paper, writing name, they were kind of like looking at others. They were like, oh, wait. Like, and it's kind of like, if you find a simple task like this complicated, that's going to also be difficult down the line with larger tasks.
Absolutely. And you said it, like you notice their body language.
Yeah.
If people start fidgeting, if they start moving around, if they're slouching, if they're kind of maybe, doing certain things, they're touching their face or whatever it is, that is a telltale. That is okay. Yeah. So they are anxious. They are stressed out. And like I said, energy is infectious. If you start working with a person like that in a group or in a team, that even if you're not the stressed out, anxious type of person, that kind of energy deteriorates the entire team. And then that can translate into an entire company, into the product, into the services, and all of a sudden the company's not doing well. So it's important to hire the right people. And so anyways, we'll look at how they're writing their names. We'll notice that. Is it in small? Is it in big? Is it in low caps? Is it in high caps? And how they kind of position the paper and how they're sitting down, the body language. And then I'll go into what we call the 3-step process. And I tell them this is a 3-step process. The first step we want is I'm going to have everybody go from right, and I read the first person's name, to left, and I read the last person's name. And I tell them, I want you to spend 30 seconds or less telling me what your name is, where you're from, maybe how old you are, and then something about yourself that has nothing to do with what you've studied and nothing to do with your work experience.
Okay.
Go ahead. And, let's say her name's Sarah. And so go ahead, Sarah. And so Sarah, could be all bubbly and be like, hey guys, my name's Sarah, I'm this and that. And, I like K-pop, and I like, and like you start noticing like funny things, cool things. And you're like, I could hang out with this person. Yeah. Like this is a person.
Sarah at lunch break will be good vibes.
Would be fun. And like maybe when you walk into the office in the morning, she's got a smile on her face. You know how powerful a smile is? Like if you're working with somebody and they walk into your office smiling every day, I'm like, I love that. Like, I'm just so like, true. Thank you so much for just being here. You make my job so much better and so much more bearable. They do this really quickly. If it's 10 people, we're done in 5 minutes, right? Mind you, we just spent like a minute with everybody writing their names. So we're like 6 minutes in and we're halfway done. So it goes all around and the crazy part is, how they say like first impressions, last impression? Immediately the star shines. Like within the first 5 minutes, immediately you just get a feel for it and you're like, wow, like this person's awesome. So immediately the stars shine. But now we tell them, all right, we're moving on to the second part of this interview. And we go the other way around, where you do the same thing. However, you get to ask anybody around you any question you want. However, it cannot be about what they've studied, and it cannot be about their work experience. It's got to be any question. Please make it an open-ended question, not a yes or no answer, and and ask anything. So now you're noticing interpersonal
Mhm.
communication. Like, how are people sitting? Are they are they folding their arms as they're talking to others? You mentioned mirroring. Are they actively listening to
Mhm.
each other when they're speaking? Are they nodding along? Are they smiling when the other person's
Do
speaking?
they remember people's
Right.
names?
And oftentimes you could even tell the question, is it a loaded question? Is it a defense? It doesn't come from a defensive place. Is it antagonizing? Is it patronizing?
Mm.
Are they trying to be funny? Are they serious? So you notice a lot of that within the interpersonal communication, and then you see it in the dialogue. So if the other person gives a short answer, does that person try to then egg that person on, keep the conversation friendly, keep it going, make it less awkward? So that kind of like peels a few layers off the onion on people, and that's a different communication skill set that you're observing there. And so you go through that round, and that round is just like the shine is just even more apparent. And then you really could tell who's an introvert, who's an extrovert, who's comfortable. Some people, they just fold under pressure. They just go, "I'm sorry, I can't think of a question right now," and so that's really
Oh
important to
no.
notice.
It's
Yeah,
like, don't
yeah,
do that.
yeah, exactly. Um, and what's interesting is that a lot of the questions that they come up with, they might be based off what people just already revealed about
Yeah.
themselves. And that goes towards who's an active listener, who can pay attention, who really cares about other people, who's a sympathetic person, who's
Mhm.
apathetic, who's self-centered, who's self-absorbed, and who's not. So
Yeah.
these are certain things that you're looking for. Another 5 minutes pass. Now we're like 10 minutes into the interview, and now we're done, basically. However, there is a final stage to this process.
Okay.
And I tell them that I'm about to give them the instructions about the final stage of the interview. However, they're not allowed to ask me anything about the instructions that I'm about to give them. And I say it again because I'm really scared they're going to ask me. And if they ask me immediately, you could tell who doesn't listen to instructions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's important. You want people that listen to other people's instructions and
Exactly.
whatnot. So I tell them, based off this group interaction that you had here today, who do you think Novomed should hire based off this interaction? Please write down the name of the person that you believe we should hire on the paper in front of you. Make sure the person on your left or right doesn't see it. One of my colleagues will come pick up the paper. You'll always have somebody just come up and ask a question. They'll ask the question that I really didn't want them to ask, which is, can I pick myself? Because that is one of the secrets, because it is a telltale if somebody picks themselves. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So you don't want other people inspiring others or giving others ideas.
Because then everyone will obviously.
Everyone might start picking
Once
them.
you know that's an option.
Right,
Yeah.
but then that doesn't really become a personality type,
Yeah.
or that just becomes them that's just survival instinct, right?
Yeah.
So it really bothers me when someone points it out. That's why I try to say it twice, and usually if the person asks me, 9 times out of 10 they weren't the star to begin with.
Mhm.
So people write the names, and then towards the end of it, well, after they're done writing, somebody from the team comes up, picks up all the papers, and it's really important to end the interview in the way that I'm about to tell you, which is end it with kindness, but reaffirm exclusivity, right?
Mm.
So tell them how understanding you are of how difficult the interview and job search process is, especially in a city like Dubai, where it's hyper competitive across all the fields.
Yeah.
And but then you might throw a little spice on the conversation. I tell them, and I make up a number every time, right? Like, I'll be real. There are hundreds of applicants that come through for our job postings, but I'll make up a number every time, and I'll be like, 1,200 people, 1,565 people. Like, I'll just apply for
You
this
said
job.
like an odd number, like 1,067.
Yeah, like
just to sound more real.
758 people. Every time it's just a different number. Applied for this job interview. You have very competitive CVs that have made it this far. It's such a great achievement. Again, I'm really trying to sell this, how exclusive this
Yeah.
process is. And so, I just want you to know that if you don't get the job with us, then you got very competitive CVs. You're going to do
Yeah.
really well. Just keep on trying. And I usually do this on a Friday afternoon because that is my least productive time of the week, is Friday afternoon right before the weekend. And I find this kind of interview process to be fun. So I'll just kind of leave fun stuff towards the times I'm least productive. And I'll be like, I know the weekend is coming. I don't want you to stress over the
Mm.
weekend. So over the next 1 to 2 hours, mind you, like we've already decided here who's joining and who's not. So I tell them within the next 1 to 2 hours, each and every single one of you is going to get a call letting you know whether you're going to move on to the next round or not.
You are saving companies so much time with this process. No one is able to decide that quick.
Right.
No one is doing a group interview. Like, I feel like for everyone taking notes and the listeners, like, this method is so helpful because of the time you're saving.
Absolutely.
Which is time is money in work. So
absolutely,
this is
time
powerful.
and money. And at the end of the day, like the one of the most expensive thing a company can go through is redundancy, right? Like if you hire somebody, you give them so much of your time, your energy, your effort, your training, and now they understand your brand, your strategy, where you're going. And the next thing you know, they jump or whatever it is. I mean, just that becomes very costly, and you stretch that out over a 5-year period of a company, and that could make a real difference on what stage of success or failure is that company at. You know what I mean? So hiring the right people is very essential, and so it does save a lot of time, but also personality types really kind of help you hire the right people, to have that cultural fit. So anyways, we thank everybody for coming. They all leave. And you know what's crazy is that we look at who people voted for.
I was just going to ask. I'm dying to know. What did they write?
And let's say it's a group of 10 people. And I promise you, like 9 people, or at least 7, 8 people, chose the same person.
Wow. So they usually don't write their own names.
Chose, except for that person.
Oh,
usually chooses themselves. They're like, it's me, hire me, and so and it's so obvious. Like the second they all leave, I look back at my team, like, and everybody jumps and goes, Sarah, like for sure, Sarah.
And definitely Sarah.
And then you look at and everybody voted for Sarah. So like,
wow,
people shine, but you gotta put all the stars together to look at the galaxy, right? Like you got to see everything's relative. So people's shine is really kind of relative to other people. So that's really where a person kind of stands out, obviously, is in a group setting. So then we're like, Sarah it is. But then there could be a few others, and we'll look at, we'll move them on to the next round.
Because this was just round 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, we call them, even though we know we want to hire Sarah, we're not telling Sarah, hey, you're hired. Even though we're so sure, we tell them they had that call a week before. Mm-hmm. Some companies I hear, like they do it, they even stretch it out even further, right? So they'll do the math and the English or the technical exams on a different occasion. I squeeze it into one because I don't really have time.
So efficiency.
Yeah. But other people who really want to kind of hammer in this idea of exclusivity, will make the process longer on purpose. And when they do that, they actually end up saving themselves a lot of money because the salary negotiation becomes a lot easier. Again, like going back to the housing, selling your house kind of example. If you get an offer right away, you're a lot more inclined to negotiate that offer.
Yeah.
But if it took you forever to get to that point of where you finally got the offer, you're mentally stretched and exhausted to the point where you're like, thank you so much, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll just take it.
I made it this far.
I made it. They made it to the top of that mountain. But if it was just like a speed bump and they immediately got the offer, they're like, this was nothing. Let me negotiate,
Yeah, like I'm everything. I'm
right.
Yeah,
so
I'm Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, so yeah, that's about it. We make sure we don't give Sarah the job offer right away. We'll wait a week or so, and then we'll tell them congratulations, like here's the job offer. And 9 times out of 10 they accept, and they don't negotiate that hard because they really feel like they were chosen there amongst a group of people, and they feel very lucky to get there. And so you end up onboarding people that are very kind of grateful, and that's a great energy to have at a company.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so after the method that you just said, then the second round, whoever made it is the technical round, right? Where you said like,
exactly.
If it's social media, then it's like content creation.
Yes.
I'm sure you like.
So as amazing as Sarah is, like you still got to make sure she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
So then after you filter out that personality, the personality types, they then go for the final stage, which is with the technical team.
Yeah.
So if it's a marketing role, then they go through the marketing
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
You know what I mean? To actually make sure we hire somebody that's got the good skill set. But what you don't want to do is hire for, intelligence, but without integrity. So we filter out for the personality slash integrity, and then they go into the intelligence element, and we end up hiring people that are 70% as smart as the 100% people. That's something I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
You're never going to have 100% employee, an employee that is 100% great at everything. We're all human
Yeah.
beings. Nobody's perfect. And the second you kind of know that as a manager, it'll just help you sleep better at night, knowing that there is no perfect. Everybody's going to have issues. I want to say that sometimes I'm okay with a B plus. You know, as long as they're good enough, they're trying really hard. Trying and effort is a lot more important than kind of. I know a lot of people are a lot more result oriented, but I know that attitude plays a part, and you can see it across a company, how people talk about their company, how they act about their company, and that's very infectious. That's very important. So to me, the energy element is very, very important. That's the secret to a lot of what we do.
I love it because they say you spend a third of your life with your colleagues, which
Yeah.
some people say can be like 90,000 hours. So I get why you're emphasizing so much on energy and personality because you're spending the most time with this group of people in
Absolutely.
a closed environment. So it matters. So what have you observed about people? Like, because you've done this so many times, you've made so many hires through this. I don't know, any interesting things that you repeat
Absolutely.
patterns that you see?
I
or-
mean, so you sometimes want to be a little bit careful as to not to hire the overly confident,
Okay.
because it works. It's worked amazingly well. I got to tell you, like, I'm super proud of my team, and I have a lot of leaders in my team, and they really talk about our company like it's their own. And obviously I'm an owner, so I feel I'm a little bit biased, but I promise you, I see that, I feel that, I hear that, from other people. If somebody's like bashing our company or talking
Yeah.
ill about it, I hear about how they just stood up and defended us and really talked well about us. So I take a lot of pride, honestly, in the people that I work with. I'm so grateful for them.
But it seems like because you invested in looking into like integrity and empathy,
Yeah.
like it's because you looked for these qualities.
Absolutely.
So it paid off.
Yeah.
You're not then with these haters that are not going to defend you
Sure.
because you made the extra effort to find that quality.
And look, I mean, at the end of the day, we can all learn things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can learn how to do a little bit more videography, or I could learn how to use Excel or use these AI tools or whatever it is that we want to do nowadays. But one thing you can't teach is personality. That's a lot of stuff. That's childhood. That's pattern behavior. That's
Yeah.
trauma. That's a lot of different factors involved, and you're not going to be able to teach another adult that in the workplace. I'm a big believer that people can learn these things over time. And the important thing is retention. As you train people, as you upskill them, then the other soft skill elements that you hired them for really keeps them there with you for the long term. And that is a huge factor in our success. I mean, we entered the market in 2018 as a healthcare company. Really, we entered as a wellness company. But there was already, Dubai had already an oversaturation of healthcare players. And so for us to, and I'm super proud to say, I feel like I believe that we're 600 people in. I got
Wow.
120 full-time doctors. I believe we're the leaders in areas like longevity, aesthetics, mental health, wellness, men's health, women's health. Those areas were so sensitive and so competitive. The real reason we were successful today, it's, yes, technology and things like that are important. It's the people. It's the doctors we have. It's the nurses we have. It's the people that we have. Um, and I'm really proud to be here today. Like, I walk into my office, I just love it. I love everyone there. I love working with them, and yeah.
I love it. And I can tell because when I posted that I was visiting you at the clinic, I think I told you, like, some friends are like, oh my God, yes, it's like the best. Or, oh, thank you. Like, I need to know about it. But it is associated with like top tier talent,
Thank you.
which is why I wanted you for this episode. And
Thank you.
I had a session with one of your doctors, Dr. Parnaz, and
Okay, cool.
she was definitely like so thorough and just taking it really seriously and made me like feel comfortable. So I can see the qualities you're now saying.
Yeah.
I can see that in the people I've interacted with myself at the clinic. And lastly, like with candidates, because I feel like so many people watching this, everyone's stressed out, they're looking for jobs. Have you observed, like, are more people insecure and playing it small? Are people playing it too unserious? Like, do you have any tips for young people that are in the job market right now that are taking notes truly from this episode?
Yeah, I think if you're a young person looking for a job, I mean, it depends what city you're at. I believe dynamics and cultural dynamics and kind of economic dynamics are important to take into account. But I can speak on behalf of a lot of these like kind of major cities. And I believe that referrals are very important, at least for, people like me who really care about the type of person you're hiring. From a personality perspective, it's important to know people's backgrounds because CVs, you can write anything on a CV. And for you to really kind of like do the research on people's backgrounds in terms of, to what extent does a GPA matter? To what extent does a reference letter matter? Because a lot of these things could, even in terms of even in terms of GPAs, it's like people could have taken the right courses, they could have done the right things, they could have whatever. And in terms of reference letters, they could have gotten it from a friend from that company or whatever. So, a real kind of understanding of where that person came from, a connection is really important. So if they're looking for a job, if they could reach out to their immediate network of friends and family, and then go to that kind of like macro network from there and see who they know, and that to me would be the best approach rather than just spamming LinkedIn job posts. I've tried that in the past.
And you don't hear back from that. It's just
it's so hard. You're competing with thousands and thousands of applicants. But one hard referral, genuine referral from a person connected to another where they trust each other and they're genuinely referring you, I think goes a much longer way than just, spamming the internet with your CV.
Totally. And it's like, make it convenient for that person. Like, I'll come to you and coffee on me, but I would mean so much if we could chat. Like, I think you have to make it easy for the person that's helping you. And some people kind of forget that part,
And I like that you said that. I think everybody likes a little flattery. And I feel like people are really, really busy. So if they have people just come to them, they want to learn from them, they want to have a coffee, they come to their office or whatever it is, kind of that shows a little bit like, okay, this is somebody I'm willing to give up my time for. This is somebody I'm willing to train. They're showing gratitude. They're likable. They're agreeable. These things are important. So being nice to people is a very important factor in the job search.
Totally. It's underrated, but it goes a small way.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open with everything you've shared today. Like, that's one thing that I like truly love about you is that you actually share what we all want to know, and you're not trying to pretend. Like, you're super honest about everything, which is just the best kind of guest to have. And lastly, where can people find Novomed? Are there any social handles you want to shout out?
So, Novomed, we're across the country. We're in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Al-Ain. We're in 13 locations, I believe. But, I'm really, really excited to announce also we have a healthcare incubator called Novo, and we've launched a mental health project called Nefsi. It's currently the largest mental health platform for Arabs.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much. I'm super proud of it. We're doing a lot of great work there. And then we just launched a women's health platform called Habibti. Currently, we're kind of still in the very early stages, looking for a co-founder, looking for a CEO. So
now you guys
anybody
know
listening,
stand out in that interview.
Reach out. We're looking for a woman, women's health expert, a superstar, a leader in that space.
Cool. I can actually think about people maybe.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And we launched a skincare line, like customized, AI-driven, kind of direct-to-consumer skincare product called Skin Factory. That's doing really, really well. So check us out on the socials.
I'll link it all in the show notes, all the URLs. But you are clearly busy, so then I want to say thank you again for coming and recording with me, because you're doing so many things. But this was so fun.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed today's episode and feel inspired by everything that our guest shared, don't forget that you can win a 1-hour free consultation call with today's expert. All you have to do is look at the episode description and the show notes to see all the steps to enter to win this call. We will select one winner only from this episode, and you'll find out within 1 week of this episode's air date. We'll put you in touch with the expert. You'll schedule a time to meet for a call, and the expert guest will look at your brand or answer your personalized questions, and you'll really get a one-on-one audit and consultation, which is such an exciting opportunity. Exclusive for our full disclosure listeners.